In this video, I want to show you how to post. So once you journalize all of these transactions, and I'm going back to the demo that we started in the journalizing video, now we have to post. And you've kind of been posting. So posting is putting all of the cash and bank transactions together in one spot, the capital transactions in one spot, so that you can calculate the ending balance. And you've been doing that using your T accounts. Okay, so when we invested $50,000, cash and bank was debited. When you wrote the utilities check for the electric bill, you credited cash and bank, and then we can add up all the increase side, subtract the decrease side, and find out our ending balance. Now remember, this was just a tool. T accounts are just a tool to help us figure out our debits and credits and so forth, but we have to do it formally, just like we had to formally enter in our transactions using the general journal. Now we will take them from the general journal and put them into what's called a general ledger account. And just like your T accounts, you had one T for all your cash and bank transactions, one T for your accounts receivable transactions, and so forth. Now what we're going to do is put it into a formal ledger account. So you'll still have your debit, you will still have your credit column, and then you're going to have what's called a balance column. But sometimes, for instance, cash and bank has a debit balance. It needs to go in the debit balance column. Accounts payable, if we had numbers in here, you would have a debit column, a credit column, and then the balance would go in the credit column of your balance section. So let me show you that. If that was confusing, hopefully this will make sense. So now we have to post. Right now, here's my cash and bank account. Right now, do you see the balance? We have nothing. I don't know what we have in our cash and bank account. So what we're going to do is post. So you'll put, and we need to go row by row. So we'll do this one first. Okay, cash and bank was debited $50,000, and I'd highlight them if you have to, whatever, use a ruler to keep you on task. This is tedious, it's time consuming, it's not my favorite part of accounting, but it needs to be done. So cash and bank, put the year, whatever year it is, I don't care, the month, October, and the date. Explanation, you don't need an explanation. The post reference, where did we get this from? Where is the 50,000 coming from? It's coming from General Journal, G, page 3. So what I'll do right here is put G for General and 3. Now I've got my wingdings on, if you can see. No, you can't, because so I'll just change that. So it's coming from G3, General Journal, page 3, and what did we do to the cash and bank account? We debited it. So we'll put 50,000 here. So what's my new balance? 50,000. So if we go back to our T account before this happened, we had 50,000. Okay, and we had a 50,000 debit balance before we did anything else. And so I need to show that. And to show that, here's my balance. I put 50,000. Okay? We just posted to account 101. And before I move on, so we posted to account 101. Let's put the 101 here. We haven't really talked about the chart of accounts, but if the account is an asset, the account number right here should start with a 1. So it might be 10, it might be 101, it might have 4 digits, it might be 1010, it might have 5 digits in it, okay? So it might be 10100. I'm not sure, it just depends on the business. Your book shows there's only 2 digits. Other books, regular accounting shows 3 digits, okay? So assets start with a 1, liabilities start with a 2, owner's equity accounts start with a 3, revenue account starts with a 4, and expense accounts start with a 5, as in the utilities expense has a 5 in it. So you might want to jot this down for your notes. Okay, so we just posted to cash and bank, and now if I come into your office and say how much do we have in cash and bank, you can quickly look at the general ledger, look at the cash and bank account, and see that we have a balance of $50,000. Now I need to go and post the next one. So the next one needs to be posted. J. Smith Capital for $50,000. So we go down to J. Smith Capital. I haven't put the year in yet, so put in the year, put in the month that it occurred on, and not today's date, but what date you did that transaction. Nothing for the explanation. We're getting this from G3, General Journal, G3. And let me change that out of Wingdings to, there we go. And it was a credit. So this is just the transaction. What did you do? What did you do to the account? That goes in these 2 columns. We credited $50,000. Now I need to figure out what's the balance. Well, if you had nothing in there, and now you just credited it, make sure you get it into the correct column, we would have a credit balance. So how do I do that with my T accounts? Right here, what's the new balance? Well, there's only one in there. It's a $50,000 and it's a credit balance. So I'm going to go and put the $50,000 balance on the credit side. Okay, you just posted to account 301. So you come up here and put 301. Don't worry about the explanation, you don't need that. Now we're going to drop down to October 2nd and take this line by line. I debited utilities expense for $125, so I find utilities expense. I'm going to split my screen so I can leave this so this stays, and I can move so I can show you this easier. Utilities expense was debited for $50,000. I pull up my utilities expense. I put in the date, October, not the 1st. This one happened on the 2nd. No explanation is needed. It's coming from G3, General Journal, page 3. And I debited the utilities expense. Utilities expense, it's debited. So go ahead and put 125. My new balance, how much have I spent so far? 125. Okay, I just posted to account 501. And now I go on to the next one. Cash and bank was credited. So this one's pretty important because now I'm using an account that I've already used, and that was cash and bank. So now it happened on the 2nd. No explanation. It's coming from G3, and I credited that account. So I put the 125 in. I credited the account 125. So what's my new balance? Sometimes people like to do that. Do I have a negative 125? No. I had 50,000. I wrote a check for 125, just like you did in your T accounts. Let me pull those back up. 125. You had 50 minus the 125. Your new balance is 49,875 as a debit. So now you go back to your general ledger. You credited it 125. Your new balance is 50,000 minus the 125, and I still have 49,875. Don't put it over here. If you did that, you're saying you have a negative balance in your cash and bank. The normal balance is a debit. You had 50,000, you spent 125.